Okay. Good morning, everybody. Good morning if you're here in Spain or if you're in Portugal, like Enrique is. Welcome to another Friday in the TEFL Development Hub. And today, oh, hang on, just mute myself there. And today, yep, I'm chatting to Enrique Ribeiro, and he has released a book today, which is now out in Amazon. I've picked up my copy. I haven't had a chance to read it all the way through yet, but we're going to get into what it's all about. And it is about teaching English in the digital age, all about teaching online and best practice. So Enrique, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time to come and chat to us today.
Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. So, you've been teaching for, I was going to say millions of years. You've got lots of experience in the classroom and you've been teaching online for about the past 10 years?
Yes, that's right.
Fantastic. And so what was the inspiration for this book?
Well, I've always wanted to write a book for quite some time, but my commitment as a volunteer for a global nonprofit organization has often limited my availability. Don't get me wrong, I love to be a volunteer. I love to be involved in teaching activities for that organization. However, despite the wealth of literature and ELT conferences focusing on various teaching techniques, methods, and also approaches, I noticed that teaching English exclusively online is not frequently discussed. So this gap in the conversation became a driving force for me. So I consistently found myself adapting traditional methods for online teaching in online settings. So I felt it was essential to create a resource specifically for teachers who are navigating the world of online English teaching. So the book is actually a culmination of those strategies and adaptation.
Fantastic. Excellent. And you started teaching before the pandemic. Did anything change for you during the pandemic? Did you how did that affect you as a teacher?
Um, I don't think it affected me at all because I was already teaching English online. And I think, well, what affected us all has to do with our social life. So we were even more isolated than the rest of the others that started doing online teaching during the pandemic. Um, so I don't think I had a big change in my life. I probably committed to more hours during the pandemic, and that can be then they can be well, tricky in certain situations, certain ways. But anyway, I think I could. Uh, I think me and I and I think other teachers that are online teachers, since they were already involved in the online in an online environment, they could keep their work-life balance, and
Mhm.
that's the most important thing. We already had experience teaching English online, and being online was not didn't make a difference for us,
Mhm.
at least for me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you already had the skills that so many other teachers were suddenly forced to learn overnight within a week. hmm Excellent. And so the book that you've written, do you
Mhm.
feel that it's more for new teachers, like early career teachers, or teachers who are first going into online teaching, or teachers with experience in online teaching?
I think we can adopt that. It could be to both. I don't want to market the book. I didn't reinvent the wheel. I'm not good at selling anything, actually. I think I try to be good at teaching, not selling. But I think all the teachers will find something that is going to be beneficial for them. For example, for new teachers, if they're starting out their teaching career or transitioning to online teaching, I think the book can serve as a practical guide to help them hit the ground running.
Mhm.
It offers actionable strategies that they can implement right away, and insights into the unique challenges and opportunities of online teaching. So actually, you hear something in theory, but in practice is it's a little bit different. And we know that a great teacher in a classroom setting doesn't necessarily mean he's a great teacher in an online setting. So the book can provide and can give that support for new teachers and build the confidence they might need in an online classroom setting. But I think experienced teachers will find value in the book as well. Actually, the book is dedicated specifically for online English teachers. Don't get me wrong, of course, I love other teachers. I love to teach, to meet other teachers in-person conferences, and it's been quite a pleasure to meet you, Teresa, and other teachers in conferences. But I think even seasoned educators can face challenges when moving from traditional classrooms to online environments. So the book includes some advanced strategies for enhancing that engagement, using technology more effectively, for example, and improving online teaching workspace, teacher well-being. So those are things that might be of concern for someone who is working online. That's all covered in the book. And actually, it's about refining, optimizing what they already know and adapting it to a digital setting to improve outcomes for both, not just for the teachers, but for the students as well.
One thing, just with you mentioning there about meeting other teachers and working as a teacher trainer and things, the bit that the book that I have read since I downloaded it, because it only became available this morning, was the acknowledgements. And that was such a wonderful kind of introduction to who you are and about the book, because you thank your wife, you thank the teachers, you thank the teacher trainers, the people that you've met at conferences. And yeah, that was just really inspiring read to start the day.
Thank you. And you really mean a lot to me. You, Therese, and others who are doing this, because you provide us, how should I split this? Maybe nourishment for me as a teacher to keep going on, because I feel the need to have these, to be connected on, for example, on LinkedIn and with other initiatives with, for example, IATEFL and TESOL Spain and other organizations to keep improving as a teacher.
Fantastic. Excellent. So in terms of who the book is aimed at, we talked a little bit about in terms of the teachers. What about in terms of the learners? Are you focusing more on one-to-one settings or groups, young learners, adults, business English?
Mm-hmm. So there's versatility in here. I think that the strategies that and tools that are discussed there are flexible enough to be adapted for different teaching contexts, whether you're managing a large group class or offering personalized one-on-one lesson. The goal there is always to use technology on their behalf. That's what we all want. Of course, we can think of ourselves. There's a chapter dedicated for that in the book. There's a part that talks about that, but we also want to think of our students as this is why we do this, and we want to give them the best possible experience. So both groups. Yeah.
Fantastic. And what about you personally? You've got almost 10 years experience purely working online. What is it about online teaching that inspires you?
I think one of the most important things that has to do with online teaching has to do with the flexibility, having that necessary and needed work-life balance. It allows me to have more control over my schedule, and this in turn gives me more time to spend with my family, with my wife. But beyond that, I enjoy the ability to reach students from diverse backgrounds, and of course, also fellow teachers online and offline. But basically, it really has to do with I'm going to put it bluntly, a means to an end. However, I love teaching English online. I love online settings because it allows me to, for example, if I want to move from one place to another, I can. I'm not limited to a geographical area. I've already moved, I don't know, 10, 11 times within Portugal. And right now I live 1 minute away from the beach. So I couldn't say that I'm living the dream, but I'm pretty close to it in terms of being able to give my wife a good quality life or a lifestyle. And that couldn't be done if we are restricted to a certain area, it doesn't mean that it's wrong. Anyone can, of course. I think online gives us that flexibility. On the other hand, there are challenges. I don't know if you would ask about that. Um, the challenge is overcommitment. Sometimes, if we teach a lot of classes, it might make us feel a lot tired. And I would get to the end of the day, I would say, hey, I would say to Maya, hey, you want to eat out or something? And she's probably tired, but she understands, and we really need to leave because I've been stuck at home for 7 to 8 hours. But anyway, I think that looking at the other side, at the students and on the students' end, I think that they also privilege online. That's my personal opinion because they also have the same benefits that we have. They would have more time for their families. Let's suppose a situation where a businessman wants to take business English classes and he's very tired at the end of the day. He gets home and now he can just spend 45 minutes in one class, even if he's tired, but he's there with his family. And then he um, turns off the computer and then he gets back to his family. As opposed to getting to a language school. And he can do that if he wants to while commuting, but he will probably waste more time traveling back and forth. Those are just, of course, decisions that everyone has to make. But in my opinion, those might be some benefits that I find, not just for teachers, but also for students.
Mhm. And is there anything that you miss about the in-person classroom? Thinking about those teachers as well who are perhaps transitioning from in-person teaching to online teaching, things like having a whiteboard that you can just easily jot down ideas on, or anything like that that you miss?
I think that when we think about the connection that we transmit in class that we have in classes with other students is something that is exclusive and it is really unique. And there are actually things that are probably easier offline than online. Um, and that's probably what I miss the most. I think that I can compensate that with my volunteer activity because I have in-person teaching activities. So if someone is transitioning to online teaching, they might as well get another activity to get to socialize. And that's what I try to compensate going to in-person conferences to get that human touch. So I really I miss, well, I think that in-person classes would have definitely have a certain different connection. But as there's someone who said was in the movie Collateral Beauty. I'm not sure if you have already watched that movie from Will Smith. He said we're here to connect, and he was talking about three things. Well, I'm not going to talk about the movie, but the idea there is connection is everything, and I feel that I can love students uh, as much as I would love them in an online classroom setting, and I would give my whole to them in the computer. So, yeah, I would stick to online. That's
Mhm.
my personal perspective, unless things change, but for now.
Yeah. No, I mean, I definitely agree. I think more post-pandemic, when people stayed online, there was a lot of concern that it was more difficult to build rapport. I think good teachers can build rapport online, offline, anywhere. Perhaps more the struggle is for the relationships between the learners and how we kind of facilitate that in the online environment. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
And and that's exactly one of the things that I mentioned in the book. So I'm not gonna unveil it, but I can tell you the theory. It's called the connectivist theory. I came across this theory a couple of years ago when I was writing a thesis and my thesis, and I thought about integrating it with language learning. And actually, that's been a topic for themes and conferences. I delivered uh, a talk at a conference here in Portugal about connectivism. I'm going to do it in September for LT and then I'm going to do it in Malta for BZig IATEFL. So, and I'm going to do it in Lisbon as well in November. So the goal is to let the teachers know that this theory, when connected to language learning, can generate things outside the classroom. So it's another way for them to expand upon what they're learning. Hopefully, this connectivism theory can generate implicit learning.
Oh,
But
I'm
yeah,
looking
if you
forward to
wanna,
reading that.
yeah, that's I don't want to expand too much on that, but yeah, so that's one of the goals of this theory connected
Fantastic.
to language learning. Yeah.
Cool. We've had a question from Jane on the chat.
Mhm.
She's interested in the voluntary work that you do. And she says maybe there's a similar organization in Spain where she and I both live, and lots of other people live as well. Yeah, so would you be interested in telling us more about the volunteer work?
Sure. This global nonprofit organization has been involved for about 100 years in teaching activities. They actually taught me how to teach. They helped me how to do it. This organization is called Jehovah's Witnesses. Maybe some of you have already heard about them, and they're present in a lot of countries. And we have teaching programs, and those teaching programs actually are available for all the volunteers. Yeah, so that's it. Yeah,
Fantastic. And that feeds your in-person need.
yeah, true.
Excellent. Awesome. Um, Tell us a little bit about the actual process of writing the book, because
Mm,
is this a self-published
yes.
production? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
As I mentioned this, well, in the beginning of our conversation, I wanted to do this for quite some time. I thought about this, but the process was both, I would say, challenging but rewarding. It began with organizing my ideas. They were already put in shelves for a couple of years now, and based on this connectivist theory and also the dual coding theory, which is another theory that I'm going to mention that I mentioned in the book. So I just had to connect my experience, and one of the things that the book mentioned, and that's one of the things that I think it gives me, well, enriches me as a teacher, is we have some quotes from interview questions that I asked to some seasoned online English teachers. So that's actually a bonus in the book. And gathering that, all that, spending time researching, reading academic papers, reading LinkedIn articles and other articles, in order to ensure that the content was both current and relevant. It's not a big book. I think I've got about 70 pages or something. It's not a large book. But once I had a clear structure, I didn't want to extend it for to be a long book. But I hope that I tried to distill the information to be practical and actionable, and being actionable advice that teachers could implement. Then publishing through Amazon KDP Select or Amazon KDP, and then now it's exclusively available on Amazon, was the final step. It was an exciting moment because I saw all that hard work come together. And I'm actually new to this as well. I just read the instructions, and yeah, I think it's, if you like to write, if you're willing to do this, if you have the necessary time availability, and if you want to share something with people on planet Earth, you can you can use this structure. I use the program available on the web to create the book. But yeah, the format that I used is accessible to educators worldwide. Um, so hopefully, this will be beneficial. And this was just a little bit about what it took to uh, process, write, and publish the book.
Mhm. I mean, I think that's definitely another positive of all the technological advances that we're seeing, that it is so much easier for us to share information to a wider audience,
Mhm.
but being able to monetize it in a decent way, not just kind of, oh, buy me a coffee, one of those sort of things, but like, no, I've actually made this book. Here it is.
Yeah, when I was thinking, I about writing a book, I thought about two or three things. One of the things was, should I offer it? Maybe I could offer the book. But then I started thinking, okay, maybe I don't want to earn, I don't want, I'm not, I know that I'm not going to get rich with the book. But the point here is, I think the most important thing is sharing what we know to help others. If we love what we do, and I love what I do, you love what you do, we all love teaching. That's why we're teachers. And I love to help others. Um, and there's more happiness in giving than receiving. When I give to others, I feel privileged. So yeah, I just ended up charging for the book based solely on the experience and expertise that I've got. That's it. But other things, I'm sure that you can find some other things that resonate with you as a teacher in other places, and that's great. And maybe you can have free resources, and that's cool. Yeah, but if you would like to take a look at the book, I would be privileged for you to get a copy, talking to other teachers out there. Um, you can do this, yeah. But anyway, I would love to have in a perfect world, education would be offered for free. That's not possible. Maybe someday, who knows? But for now, yeah,
Yep. No, I completely agree. I'm very much a education for all. Yep, definitely. Yep. Jane adds most TEFL teachers are experts in sharing.
true.
Fantastic. One thing just before we carry on chatting about the book, for anyone who's watching, um, if you go to the Amazon site, I tried to download the book for my Kindle, and for some reason it said it wasn't recognized, but you can download a Kindle app. I've downloaded it onto my computer and then it opened fine. So just to be aware that if you are trying to download it and you say, oh, it doesn't work on my device, there are kind of other options for accessing the book once you've bought it from Amazon. So don't be afraid to go and make a purchase. Um, so Enrique, just a couple more ideas before we leave.
Sure.
How do you feel? A lot of people are concerned with online teaching that it's kind of gimmicky, that it's, lots of bright lights and it takes away from real teaching. What are your thoughts about that?
That's actually a great question. And you know, I'm not exactly sure about. I'm going to tell you something that has to do with what I feel that some teachers might feel about it. Um, is online teaching the stepson of DLT? So that's a good question for anyone who would like to answer. But I would say that, in my opinion, it isn't, of course. I think that we can do uh, the same thing that we do in an online setting. Well, in a classroom setting, we can do it in an online setting. And why do I say that? Because I've seen practical examples of it. Um, Teachers who focus on developing their teaching techniques approaches are involved in CPD. They will probably become better teachers, regardless of where they teach. So one of the things that I was mentioning just before our conversation, Teresa, just before starting here on YouTube, it has to do with energy. I believe that, of course, you need to have more energy, especially to teach very young learners of English. That should be, well, in a classroom setting. I think you also have to have that. But yeah, but in online settings, you need to be tech savvy because perhaps you will have to use special effects like these ones. or others to enhance your virtual environment and to convey to certain areas and aspects when you teach. TPR is probably more, it needs to be more lively because let's suppose if you do this in a classroom setting, everyone will understand it. But in an online setting, perhaps you need to do this closer to the webcam. So these understanding these things will probably get get you going in the right track. Um, there are more things that we could say, but yeah, these are just a few.
Hmm. Fantastic. And I mean, obviously, you mentioned their TPR.
Mhm.
Oh, I don't know whether you can kind of answer this, but kind of what percentage of what you can do in the classroom do you think is transferable to the online environment?
Um, I think that what cannot be transferable has to do with our body expression because you can only see me yeah this side up. But I use a standing desk, for example, to teach. So that's just top tip for online English teachers if you can get one. It will enhance your body energy and your teaching. So I would say that, in my opinion, that's the only difference. That's the only difference that you can use your whole body to move to the students and to approach them and to probably use other body expressions that we wouldn't use in an online setting.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's it.
Awesome.
That's my personal opinion. Of course, it's open to discussion.
Fantastic. Well, if anybody's watching this on catch up and you've got any questions, pop them in the chat. I'll be sharing the link for Enrique's book there as well. As we said, it's out today on Amazon, so do go along and pick up a copy. Enrique, thank you so much for taking the time to come and chat to us
Thank you.
today.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Teresa.
Awesome. And I'm really looking forward to reading all about connectivism in the book.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Well, have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you again next week live on